Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. I am Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, is my brother and, yes, award-winning sports writer, Tim Leonard. Brother, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, brother. I am outstanding. How are you this morning?
You have your shots, right, brother? Of
course I do, brother.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I met someone, I was online at All-American this weekend, and the guy said he didn't
let people know, brother, the famous All-American burger in Massapequa.
They don't have to be explained.
Yeah.
Anyway, the guy said he didn't need them. And I'm like, really?
False, completely false.
I said, wow, okay, well, just stay away from me. So anyway, get your shots. It's a good thing. And even if you hate it or you think you don't need it or whatever, just think of it this way. Yesterday, I went shopping without a mask. That's all, because I had my shots, and they said, "Oh, if you have your shots, okay, come in."
That's right.
Because I had my pass, and guess what? That's it. So think of it that way. No walking around with a mask. At least when I went shopping yesterday. That's all you have to think about. Anyway, brother, let's start off with one of the best games I've seen all year, hockey-wise. And that was the Islanders Bruins game, Game 4, Nassau Coliseum, or Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum on Saturday night.
I call it the barn, brother.
They call it the Rockin' Barn would be an understatement. It was an extremely loud night, as well it should be. It was a very good game. It was, in many cases, the Bruins could have maybe won this game. They missed an open net. Pasternak missed an open net. Imagine you have that whole net and you hit the post.
I laughed loudly when that happened, brother.
Oh, my God.
Laughing loudly.
I felt bad for the guy.
I legitimately LOL'd.
Yeah, I know, but I felt bad for the guy. I mean,
I did not feel bad for him at all.
Well, you don't normally get an open net like that. And
He's one of the chief punks on that team.
That is true. I mean, that part is the best part. And because of that, the Islanders played differently. And, Barzell, that goal that put him ahead, what a great reaction shot he had. It was bouncing, and he just sort of bounced it in the air. And he just whacked it. It was
whacked it out of the air. All I know is by judging by that shot, brother, flies in Matthew Barzal's house don't live very long.
No, man, he knows how to get the puck in the net. That was a great. I mean, the Islanders would then have two open net goals, but man, that was like, wow, that was just a great moment for the Islanders, and they really should have won Game 3. They lost in overtime. Especially since the Islanders love winning in overtime. It's just a natural thing for this team in the history. It's the history of this team.
And I'll tell you what, for game 3, that Varlamov and that overtime goal, it was his only bad point in the game.
Yes, it was.
That goal never should have gone. It was a bad angle. I think it caught him by surprise somehow. I'm not really sure why, but the shot was perfectly placed. I'll give him that. But it never should have gone in.
Well, the thing about it was, you're right. It was probably unexpected because no one would take a shot from that angle, and I don't think it was supposed to be a shot. I think it was supposed to be more of a pass into the front.
No, it was a shot. It went top corner. It was yeah. But it was the kind of shot you take when you say, I'll shoot it and see what happens. It wasn't like, this is what I'm going to do and.
Right.
Here comes the winning goal. It was.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So it was a strong game for the Islanders on Game 4. It's 2-2 now. They go back to Boston tonight. Wednesday, if they win tonight, could be the game winning, or it's Game 6. They win that, and then they go on to
clinching victory, brother.
Yeah, and or it could be the last time that they play in the Nassau Coliseum. Though we have said, and no one, I've only seen this, that in a couple of articles, that there is a chance UBS Arena will not be ready in October. It'll be finishing up. So they might have to play a couple of more games at the Coliseum.
It's happened before, brother. Tottenham Hotspur with their stadium. It happened. They got delayed by like 4, 5, 6 months. So
so
let's not say it's last until they start playing at UBS Arena.
Yeah, though, if they should win the Stanley Cup, which I think I've said this, brother. No one said it yet, but I'm the first one out of the gate on this. I think the Islanders are. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think the Islanders are going to the finals. Whether they win or not, I'm not sure, but I think they're going to the finals. So, they played too good yesterday not to win the next two.
I will disagree with you,
Saturday.
I will disagree with you, but it's not because I think the Bruins are going to beat them, because I don't think the Bruins are going to beat them. Do I think the Bruins can beat them? Yes, I do.
Yes, I do too.
This series wouldn't surprise me if it goes to 7 games. Now, that being said, that's why tonight's game is so vitally important, because nobody has won 2 in a row in this series thus far. And if the Bruins win at home tonight, well, obviously that puts the Islanders in a sticky situation, even though Game 6 is at home. And the Islanders have a great record at home this season. But anything can happen in one game. So I certainly would rather be coming home up 3-2 with a chance to put the series away in my own building, and if worse comes to worse, have a second chance to win that clinching game, even though you have to go back to Boston, and it would certainly be a much more sketchy situation for the Islanders, because they would no longer have the momentum, they would no longer have the home ice advantage. So you'd have a lot of things going against you. But if the Bruins were to win Game 6 and have to expend the kind of energy that you have to expend to save your season, then the Islanders just might be able to get away with Game 7 in Boston. Now, that being said, if I'm Barry Trotz, I have to just completely empty the tank tonight and make sure every single one of my players knows tonight is the night. Your season is tonight. Because if they don't win tonight, then chances are they're not going to win the series. That's how vitally important Game 5 is.
Well, the Islanders have played good the entire series, so for the most part. So I
didn't think they were good in Game 1.
Game 1 was maybe the only one. That was the only one that really didn't impress me either. I agree with you there.
Yeah,
but most of it's
Game 2 they played well. I thought Game 3 they played fairly well. The Bruins are also a good defensive team, and the Islanders. The one thing that I was thinking about both in Game 3 and in Game 4 was how much different would this series be if Anders Lee was healthy and didn't tear his ACL and was out on the ice, because this has been a physical, a very rugged series, and this is the kind of hockey that Anders Lee would excel in. Because he'd be throwing the body around, he'd be leading by example. You think Krejci, that another one of those chief punks on the Boston Bruins, you think he would have got away with that spear on Barzal in the second period of Game 4?
No way.
What a cheap! I can't even say what I thought of that play on the public airwaves. But let's put it this way: Krejci at first was called for a spear, which is a major penalty, which means the Islanders would have gotten a 5-minute power play plus a game misconduct. And for anybody who's listening who doesn't know what spearing is, it's basically taking the tip of the blade of your stick and either taking that it's not pointy per se, but it's the tip, so it's a curved point, right? And hitting a player either in the stomach or like the liver area, or in can we say family jewels, brother? Is that all right?
Family jewels are good.
Which is where Krejci hit Barzal. He tried to cripple him. He tried to make sure Barzal would not have any offspring. And instead of calling a major penalty in a game misconduct, which is what he deserved, the referees went back and they called it a slash, which was the most cowardly thing I've seen in a hockey game in probably at least a couple of years. Because that made it a 2-minute power play. Barzal still had to recover, and Krejci should have been out of the game. And so what happens yesterday? Krejci gets fined $5,000 by the league. How many guys in the NHL get fined for a minor penalty? It doesn't happen.
No. And also it's a playoff thing too. So, but then again, hey, this has happened before with the Islanders. So who was it? Dale Hunter was suspended after the season.
That was when, what was it? Turgeon, wasn't it?
Yeah, Pierre Turgeon.
When he ran him after the goal. And that was after the fact. They suspended him for a quarter of a season, 21 games, I think it was.
Yeah,
but that, I'm not saying Krejci deserved that, but he certainly deserved a game misconduct.
Well, I agree with that.
He did what he did totally on purpose. You don't spear somebody accidentally. It doesn't happen. If you're going to spear somebody, you need to know you know where your stick is going.
No, I agree.
It was disgraceful. It really was.
So anyway, that missed goal too. Like I said, I keep going back to that, but you don't miss an open net like that. It's just I think the Bruins would have played differently if they, and the Islanders too. I think it would have been a much different game because it was such a defensive game for most of the game until just got the open nets. But
that's been what it is. That's. The most of the series has been that way, except obviously for game one with the Islanders, where their defense was not very good at all, and Sorokin didn't play very well. Now, that being said, we talked about it on last week's show, and I remember saying to you that I thought that Varlamov was possibly dealing with an injury. I can say with very, very confidently say that if he was dealing with an injury, it's gone, it's healed, because he's been outstanding the last couple of games, and they're certainly not going to lose this series because of him. So Varlamov is the guy he's back in the driver's seat. He's back to helping carry this team, and the Islanders are going to go as far as he takes them. So. It's good to see that the other night, 28 saves on 29 shots. He started a little shaky. I thought he looked a little disheveled. They got the goal, but as soon as they scored the goal, that was it. He slammed the door and he basically said, "Look, you're not scoring again, and it's not happening. We're winning this game. I don't know how we're going to win it, but we're winning this game."
Yeah, I thought he did a lot of things I think influenced the team in the sense that, okay, I got this. You guys got to get some goals, or at least get a goal. But
that's the thing. It's tough to score on the Bruins, and that's what makes them so dangerous. Is they're a very good defensive team. They have a good goalie. Rask is a very good goalie, and they also they probably have a better offense than the Islanders do. So the Islanders to make this series work, they're going to need to play defense. They're going to need to play Islanders hockey.
Rask played fantastic. Let's be honest. He played very well. There should have been a couple of more goals along the way, and there weren't. So it was a good game, one of the best games I've seen all season. I thought it was just
you could say that from both sides because Beauvillier had the breakaway, shot it into his chest.
Yeah.
I forget who it was on the Bruins. Somebody hit the crossbar. After Pasternak hit the post, and that post was also fortunate in the sense that it hit the post, and then instead of bouncing somewhere crazy where everybody's looking for the puck and who knows where it's going, the puck bounced out and hit the back of Varlamov's skate and just died right there. Yep, he was able to just dive right on top of the puck. So that was a fortunate bounce too. Never mind the fact that he missed a completely empty net. What a choke job that was.
It seemed like it hit the dead part of the post and just dropped down and boom. Let me sit on the puck basically.
Yeah, and that's Varlamov didn't. Well, I'm sure he felt it hit his skate, but after that you don't know where it is. That's why he turned around and dove on it, because what's the last thing you want is for it to hit off your skate and then creep over the line. So I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure he felt it hit his skate and he said, "Oh no."
Yeah, that's true.
So that aspect of it. The other thing I want to just talk about from Game 4. I thought Pajot played a phenomenal game. I was so happy that he got that last empty netter, because talk about a guy who deserved a goal. He was phenomenal, and I forget who it was who was doing the game. But I thought he made a great point where he said Pajot was having a Butch Goring kind of game.
Yep, they kept bringing up Butch Goring.
And I as soon as you said that, I was like, wow, that is 100% correct. Because he did everything. He was winning faceoffs. He was skating the puck. He was playing great defense, back checking the hell out of the Bruins. And he just did everything. And he's not going to put up superstar numbers. He's a guy he's going to help your team win. And he did that all over the ice in Game 4. And it really was a Butch Goring performance. And I really wish that they could have gotten Butchie on the air or something and just ask them about that, because obviously, with the game on NBC.
Well, the games were on it. Well, they're on NBC.
Right.
NBC on Saturday night and right after the Belmont.
NBC, yeah.
And then, but he's probably in the building.
I'm sure he is, because he's
but he wasn't covering the game. We should say that.
Well, didn't they do post game on SN or whatever, MSG Plus or whatever afterwards? I think they do.
I don't know. I didn't pay attention.
I was kind of sported out after that, because I went from the Belmont to the Islanders. I was watching the Yankees in the afternoon before the Belmont. I was kind of, I was kind of like, I don't really want to watch TV anymore.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Nets. They are in the Eastern semifinals. They are the only New York team left in the NBA playing in the playoffs. They beat up on the Bucks 115-107.
Game 1, bro. Game 1.
What did I say? Game 1? Did I say game 1?
You didn't say anything. You just said they beat the Bucks.
I thought, I figured people knew it was Game 1. Yeah, it's Game 1. So, it's interesting that, imagine if the Islanders hadn't decided to move out of Brooklyn. That arena would be busy literally every night. And maybe that wouldn't be a good thing, because that's such a weird arena.
Probably.
But anyway, the Nets, it's nice to see all three players, the superstars playing, but then, someone gets slightly hurt again. And
lasted a minute, brother. Glad you enjoyed that minute.
I'll take any minute I can. There's the fact that these guys are all on the floor at the same time. But it's this is such a strange team that you have three superstars and all three don't play together on because they're injured, not because of a coaching decision or anything else. So, but the Nets, they let's put it this way, brother, they could be going to the finals.
Yeah, but here's my concern. The Nets took care of the Boston Celtics like it was nothing, like swatting a fly, pesky fly. They don't have Matthew Barzal and a stick to swat the fly, but they have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden to swat the fly, which is more like throwing a brick at the fly. But a minute into the game against the Bucks, and everybody who follows the NBA and everybody talks about the NBA, all the pundits, everybody who covers it, this is the series, Nets and Bucks. This is the series that everybody wants to see. Because the Bucks are a really good team, and the Bucks were probably coming into the season. The Bucks were probably the Eastern Conference favorites. So when you look at this series, it's two very good teams going after each other, and the Nets are the clear favorite in the NBA at this point. Most people, most Vegas lines have them as the favorite to win the title. So a minute into the game, when you see James Harden grabbing at his right hamstring and just walking off the floor and pointing to Steve Nash and saying, I'm going to the locker room because this ain't happening, all of a sudden you start to say, all right, well, now what? Because you just lost a guy who, since that trade, from me, James Harden has been the Nets MVP when he plays. Because he really does control the game. Durant, as far as I'm concerned, is the best player they have. He's one of probably the two or three best players in basketball. But James Harden is the guy that runs that team. And for him to be out for any kind of length of time, it's just going to make the Nets' job that much harder. And when I say that much harder, it also is possible it might not happen. The Bucks could very well win this series. Now, that being said, game one, we said 115-107. The game wasn't that close. It sounds like it was close. The Nets won that game by about 18 points. The Bucks scored a lot in garbage time down the stretch. The game was never in doubt. So even though they won by 8, that might have been the closest the game was for the last quarter, was that 8-point at the end. So for the Nets, with game 2, and game 2 is tonight at the Barclays Center. So we got a couple big games tonight with the Islanders and the Nets. You look at what the Bucks did in game 1, and Giannis, of course, was phenomenal. But Chris Middleton was not. Shot 6 for 23. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he was the reason the Bucks lost that game, or at least were never in the game. You shoot 6 for 23, you're not helping your team. But he's their number 2 option. So he is, it's Giannis and Durant are similar, and that means Kyrie Irving and Middleton, their numbers are kind of going to get matched up against each other. Now, that being said, Blake Griffin stepped into the void that Harden's absence created. And I don't mean that from a point guard sense, because obviously Blake Griffin is more of a power forward. But 18 points and 14 rebounds for Blake Griffin in game 1, which was phenomenal. And Joe Harris also had 19 points. Joe Harris is the quietest lethal scorer in the NBA. He'll just set up behind the three-point line. The other teams have to deal with Durant. They have to deal with Kyrie Irving. They have to deal with the resurgent Blake Griffin. And Joe Harris can just sit there outside, find his favorite spot on the floor, and say, "Oh, yeah, guys, when you get around to it, throw me the ball. I'll shoot. Nobody's covering me. Nobody cares about me." So 19 points. Thank you very much. And Mike James also, he had 12 points in, I believe it was about 30 minutes after playing less than 10 minutes against the Celtics in the entire series. So he goes from 10 minutes in 5 games to 30 minutes in 1 game. So, welcome to the party, Mike James.
Harden, hopefully he's able to come back, but if he doesn't, you know what? They got other players to cover him, and I think that's why the Nets were going to win. Yeah,
well, he didn't look bad going off the court. It looked like he might have just tweaked it, and that's always a good thing with a hamstring. If you feel it, get out of there. Get the pressure off of it. Don't run on it. Don't try to tough it out, because it's just going to get worse. So, I know Harden's not playing tonight in game 2. That much we know for a fact. But we also don't know how serious the injury is. And if the really fortunate thing would be if the hamstring just cramped up, because that happens. It's rare, but it does happen. Right. If that happened, well, maybe he misses game 3 as well. But then it's possible he's back for game 4. If he's got any kind of pull as far as the hamstring goes, and then I doubt he'll be back in the series. That's how much different it is, because you need to get fitness back. You need to be able to run without feeling the pull, because you need to be free and easy, as they say. And if you have any kind of residual pain or residual pull in the hamstring, you can't play on it, because it's always going to get worse. So yeah, you have to wait until it's 100%. So we'll see what happens with that. It's the same hamstring that caused Harden. He missed 18 games in a row and 20 or 21 games late in the season. So this was the injury that kept him out late in the season and meant that the big 3 couldn't play together. So now here we are again after they had one series together. It looked like they were starting to get more accustomed to each other, more comfortable, and really, really starting to dominate. You saw that in the games against the Celtics. But now here we are again. And Steve Nash said it after game 1. He said something to the effect of, lucky or not, we have a lot of experience dealing with this. Where one of the guys is out, and we've made do with it. And we don't necessarily have to have all three of them because we know what to do if one of them gets hurt or whatever, for whatever reason, one of them can't play. So that's where we are again.
No, it's a good point. And it's almost like as much as you want the three of them to play, because that's, why they got Harden and that's why they have the other two. But, it just doesn't seem to happen. And, you're almost used to it at this point because of his previous injury. And,
so it's obviously not what you want. I mean, this is what, when Harden came back at the end of the season and he was ready for the playoffs, that was kind of the ideal situation. And people kind of looked at it and said, well, the Nets are just holding him out and they don't need him to get a playoff spot or anything like that. It's like, they were kind of like, all right, let's let him rest and let's make sure he's 100% so we don't have to deal with any lingering effects of the injury. Well, I don't know if it's the same spot as the previous injury or what, but here we are with basically the same injury, and we're on this carousel again. So
yep.
And I will mention, brother, the other series in the Eastern Conference, the Hawks, surprising Hawks, the Hawks that eliminated the Knicks, defeated the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 1. That was quite a surprise. So who knows? Maybe the Hawks are the team of destiny this season. I don't know, but
wow.
Destiny has a way of running out when you face a behemoth like the Brooklyn Nets. So we'll see where that goes.
And speaking of the Nets, I mean the Knicks, their season's over. They had, let's be honest, a horrible playoffs. This is hard to believe. This is the same team that played so well this year. That that fans were like, wow, my Knicks team is back. And then they get to the playoffs and it's almost like it wasn't not only the same team, but the same attitude even. It was just it's hard to believe that they were this disconnected, I guess is the word I'm looking for, considering the rest of the season before. Well, regular season, I should say.
I mean, the problem that the Knicks ran into were numerous, but obviously the main problem, and we talked about this last week, was that Julius Randle just didn't have a good series, and that a lot of that could be attributed to the defense that the Hawks played, and some of it could be attributed to Julius Randle settling for perimeter jumpers. And not trying harder to get to the basket and trying to increase his shooting percentage. In Game 5, I mean, let's just point out that the Knicks lost Game 5, 103-89, and that came. I don't even. It was not much more than 24 hours after R.J. Barrett guaranteed victory, and actually told Mark Berman of the Post that it was a stupid question. When Berman asked him, what if tomorrow's night's game is the last game of the season, and now then you guys have to start looking at next season, and this Knicks team has a lot of free agents because the Knicks signed a lot of guys over the summer to 1-year deals because they didn't get the free agents that they wanted, right. And they just said, all right, you know what, we're just going to throw a team together. And we got Tom Thibodeau coming in to coach, so we're just gonna throw a bunch of guys together and see what happens. We got Randall, we got R.J. Barrett in his second year, we got a couple of rookies, first round draft picks, and I think they were expecting bigger things from Obi Toppin, but let's see what happens. And nobody expected this. I don't think Knicks brass expected the Knicks to be the 4 seed in the East and to finish with 41-31, I think it was. So nobody expected. I mean, they were 19 wins above what Vegas predicted for them this season. It was right. It was just a massive overachievement by the Knicks. Now, all of this being said, I will say Julius Randle in Game 5 had 23 points and 13 rebounds, which sounds nice, but shot 8 for 21 from the field and was 3 for 9 from 3-point range. Right. Barrett, who we criticized last week because basically his entire game on offense was standing in the left corner, standing in the left corner, waiting for the ball to come to him. He was 5 for 14 from the field and 2 for 6 and scored 17 points. Now, 40 points between your two top guys might sound nice, but when you need 35 shots to get those 40 points, that's not getting it done. It's not going to work. So you need more efficiency. You need to get to the basket. And I hope that's something that Tom Thibodeau is going to express to both of these guys, because these are the Knicks guys. Randall is their guy. And I still don't know, because next year is the last year of the 3-year deal that he signed with them. But I still don't know what they're going to do with him. Are they going to make him a franchise player? Because that's what they're going to have to do to keep him around.
Right. No, I understand.
And Barrett is obviously still a developing player, but do you really want to make him a 3-point guy? He's not a 3-point shooter. He wasn't in college, so I don't know why they're trying to turn him into one. But this guy, he's a slasher. That's his game. He should get the ball and take on defenders and get to the free throw line and make free throws and not just shoot corner threes.
Well, I'm sick. I'll be honest with you, brother. I'm sick of 3-pointers. If they wouldn't do it, but if they would, the NBA would say tomorrow we're getting rid of the 3-pointer, I would be very happy. I think the game would. The game has gone so much over what it's supposed to be with the 3-pointers. 3-pointers is supposed to be something special. You had to have a certain skill to do it. Now everyone has it. And it doesn't mean they're going to get it in, though. That's one of the problems.
Part of the reason why there are so many 3-pointers now is because we're in a generation of players that has grown up with the shot, and grown up with it as it's not something special. It's 3 points and it's a bonus point, and it's so many young players now have such expanded range on their shots because that's what they grew up with. And it wasn't so many guys. Larry Bird, he was, get your toe an inch behind the line, get as close as you could to the line. Nowadays, Steph Curry, he's 10 feet behind the line. He doesn't care.
Right.
He's launching. Trae Young is the same way. He's not nearly the shooter that Steph Curry is, but he's launching. And Damian Lillard, same way. I mean, so many of these guys, no conscience at all. And, it's almost like the home run with baseball, that it's, baseball, it's all about launch angle these days, and then nobody cares about strikeouts anymore. And it seems like every lineup has 1 or 2 guys on batting under 200, and batting average doesn't matter anymore, it seems. But that's the way the NBA is with the 3-point line now, is that it seems like it's become such a focus of the offense. And you see teams and offenses that will, instead of driving to the basket, they'll drive the lane and then kick it out for a 3-pointer, which it goes completely against what the game was, the creation of the game. The creation of the game, Dr. Naismith, the whole idea was get as close to the basket as you can.
Right. And one of my problems is that it's just, I think you take the 3-pointer with 3 or 2 minutes left when you're behind and you have to build it up. But to me, if you were to move the ball just a little bit faster and go to the basket, instead of throwing it out for a 3, instead of doing it in 22 seconds, let's say you did it in 16, you would and you got the basket. You would create, I think, a better game to watch, because it's just not. To me, I think in the next year or two, people are going to start really complaining about the way right now baseball is all about, okay, we got to get home runs. And right now it's not that much fun to watch baseball. And especially with the 7-inning games right now, and also the, starting at second base in extra innings. I mean,
but it's also not that much fun to watch basketball when you're watching guys chuck 25-footers.
Right.
And let's face it, a good percentage on that is 40, and not a lot of guys shoot 40. So you're watching a lot of missed shots is what you're watching, when nobody wants to watch that. I will say this, brother. I know you probably want to read the half-hour thing, but let me just say this about the Knicks. The Knicks will have plenty of cap space this summer, and they will obviously be looking for free agents to take their money. But the roster is going to undergo some shakeups because, like I said before, they have a lot of guys on one-year contracts. They're going to have to make decisions on guys. The one, to me, the guy that they need to return the most is Derrick Rose, even though they should also be looking for a point guard of the future. I mean, Derrick Rose, to me, had just a total renaissance this year, playing for Thibodeau, who he loves. But he was a completely different player this time around with the Knicks than he was his first time. I mean,
I agree.
Could have been more opposite. So I'd love to see them bring him back for at least a year, or maybe give him a 2 or 3 year deal. And if nothing else, to have him around and he can be the mentor for whoever the next point guard is going to be. The Knicks also need to work out some kind of deal with Mitchell Robinson, who will be a restricted free agent, even though Robinson missed significant parts of the season with injuries this year. Obi Toppin, we said before, it was a bit of a disappointment. Emmanuel Quickly, the other first-round pick, started fast but kind of faded late. Here's some names for you, brother, because these are the guys who can be free agents. Cousin Kawhi could be a free agent if he opts out, but I don't think he will. He's got a player option.
We should say Cousin Kawhi Leonard.
Cousin Kawhi Leonard plays for the Los Angeles Clippers. He's got a player option for $36 million next year, and he really wanted to be in LA, so I don't see him opting out.
No, I don't know.
That was his choice. Chris Paul is another guy, point guard, which the Knicks could use, but an aging point guard, playing on a successful Phoenix Suns team that knocked off the Lakers, which, even though the Suns were a higher seed, everybody was surprised about that.
By the way, LeBron looked horrible in his crybaby boat.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But Chris Paul has a player option. We'll pay him $44 million next year. I don't think he's opting out of that.
No, I don't either.
So two other aging point guards will be available, and Kyle Lowry from the Toronto Raptors and Mike Conley Jr. But also available, brother, and this guy is a very polarizing figure, Lonzo Ball. So I don't know about it. If they can sign him and leave his father at home, it could be a good signing. Lonzo Ball's still only 23 years old.
Maybe they can send the father on like a trip around the world or something.
Send him on a scouting mission to Antarctica or something. And another name to throw out there, brother. Spencer Dinwiddie, who the Nets guard, who really at this point doesn't have a spot with the Nets. I mean, he's a point guard. The Nets have Kyrie Irving. They have James Harden. I don't know I don't know how Spencer Dinwiddie would get minutes with those two guys on the floor. But he had a partial tear of his ACL before the season started. Let's remember, Spencer Dinwiddie last season in the 2019-20 season averaged 20 points, almost 7 assists, and got 7 free throw attempts per game. This guy was getting to the basket at will. I would take a risk. I would take the chance on this guy.
Right. Well, we'll see what happens, brother. Anyway, you're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. This is from the press box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We are part of the WHPC Sports Talk family, which is Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., and then an additional sports talk every Tuesday, 10 p.m. to midnight. Now, brother, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I said something about Jacob deGrom, which basically I said, I don't have the exact quote, but basically we were watching something special right now, and we should enjoy it the way like Doc Gooden had in 1984 and 85, or Tom Seaver had several great seasons. I said this about Jacob deGrom, and now other writers either heard it or just picked up on it, because Jacob deGrom is just, and he's 0.62 on the ERA right now. He struck out 11 on Saturday. And one of the things that I saw, I actually watched a little of the post-game press conference, and he actually said, they asked, why didn't you go to the 8th? And he said, well, my arm was hurting a little bit. So we can't blame Rojas on this one, for taking him out like I like to do on all this type of thing, because my arm was just tired. I go, oh, okay, well, at least he admitted it. But then he was hurt, and he was hurt a couple of weeks ago, so listen to your body. Right, but that's what I thought. I'm saying, well, is he hurt? Is he that type of thing? He didn't say that. So But it was nice to
fatigue. Your arm starts getting tired after throwing a certain number of pitches.
And plus, he's throwing so many pitches over 100 miles an hour now, which I almost worry about, because I think if you're putting that much pressure on, you might want to, does it have to go 101 miles? No, it goes 97. I'm happy.
Wow. I do. I remember. I'm pretty sure I remember your quote, brother, about Jacob deGrom from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure your exact words were, "He's good."
I think that was it. Yeah,
you might have said more than that, but that's the part I remember.
Well, I just said this is a part you should enjoy. Like, this is something you talk about years later. Oh, I remember Jacob deGrom, man. Yeah, every time he came on, you always enjoyed it. You always thought about it. You look forward to it.
This is like when your grandfather talks about Sandy Koufax and seeing Koufax, right, or Whitey Ford, or some people like that. That's Jacob deGrom right now. I mean, the fact that his ERA is significantly under 1 is absurd.
Well, who's they would compare him. I saw an article the other day. Bob Gibson.
Yeah, because Gibson had the 1.12 ERA, and I think it was 68.
Yeah, 68.
That was the year before they raised the mound to make it a little easier on the hitters, because it was ridiculous. There were a lot of pitchers that year that had sub 2 ERAs, but Gibson was insane. 1.12. That's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Also,
but anyway,
he'd throw it at your head if you got anywhere near him the wrong way.
Yeah. So. But anyway, the Mets are coming off a 4-3 West Coast swing, which, let's face it, it's not bad. It's acceptable. They split 4-game series with the Padres. They took 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks. I don't have any problems with that. They could go 4-3 on a West Coast trip, and that's a good trip. The Mets are 7-3 in their last 10.
Yeah, man.
Which is pretty good. I'm not gonna. You can't say anything negative about it, but they're also 29-23, which makes them the only team above 500 in what is quickly becoming a moribund NL East. So, I mean, 7-3 isn't exactly scorching, but in the NL East, it is. They are 6 games above 500. Like I said, the only team above 500, and they have a 3.5 game lead on the Atlanta Braves, who are 28-29. So
yeah, I thought the Braves were going to do better right now, but
they'll come around. But
I'll accept the fact that they're stinking.
Yeah, I'm sure you should be happy about it. Let them stink for as long as they can. I mean, that's. But deGrom had, like you said, the 7 innings in a 4-0 win on Saturday against a very good Padres lineup. And maybe even more amazing in that game, Francisco Lindor, who's been struggling all season, hit a home run and had a double. So that was good to see. Maybe he's starting to snap out of it. And then deGrom also pitched 6 shutout innings in a 6-2 win over the Diamondbacks. And how about that, brother? The Mets scoring 10 runs in 2 games for Jacob deGrom. That's
that was nice to see. I was
pretty slick.
When I watch the games and deGrom's up, I always think, well, maybe he should get like a nice hit, because the Mets aren't going to support him. But hey, 10 runs is pretty good for a deGrom game. So the guy's he's making it look too easy, which scares me a little bit. Wow. Like his arm's going to fall off or something, or something like that. I almost feel like taping these games.
Here's the thing, brother. You look at deGrom pitch, and it's effortless. It's what they call easy gas. He winds up, he throws, and it looks like he's not maxing out his effort. Whereas when you watch Noah Syndergaard pitch, every time he throws the ball, he's grunting. It looks like complete max effort, and you wonder, can he dial it down just a little bit? I don't have any concerns when I watch deGrom pitch. His mechanics are flawless. He is like I said, he is a guy who it doesn't look like he's exerting himself to anything even close to a maximum level. Yet it seems like every time the ball comes out of his hand, the radar gun is hitting triple digits. He had 33 pitches that registered 100 miles an hour or more in that Padres game. That's absurd.
I know. I worry about it, brother. I worry about it.
You shouldn't. I mean, he's been doing this for years, brother. Maybe not throwing this hard, but he's been doing this for years, and he's only missed not even a handful of starts, just a few starts.
No, I agree.
So I'm not worried about him as far as injury goes. He's one of those pitchers who he can just load it up and let it go, and maybe once in a while his arm will bark, but history and performance say that he's not a guy who you have to worry about missing a season because he's going to need surgery. So, good for him, good for the Mets. And like you said, I mean, we certainly are watching something special, and I would certainly recommend to anybody if you can, if you have the time, make the time. Just if you can watch this guy pitch, then certainly do it, because he is a very special player, and he is a guy who, he's right now he is must-see TV.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I agree with that. Let's get to the Yankees, brother.
Well, before we do that, brother, I just wanted to point out the Mets will be starting a 2-game series against the Orioles at Camden Yards tomorrow night, and they will be facing the Dark Knight, brother, on Wednesday. Down there, brother.
Let's go down there.
Although he's not the Dark Knight anymore, but Matt Harvey, former Met, will be starting for the Baltimore Orioles on Wednesday night. So
we should go down. Let's take the Amtrak, brother.
I'm not going to do that. Probably count that one as a win for the Mets.
We'll visit the cousins. They're in Baltimore. We'll say, hey, come on up.
I don't think that's going to happen.
You never know. Anyway, brother, what's wrong with the Yankees, brother?
They stink, brother. That's all I can say.
Let me write that down. Let me quote that. They stink. 9:47 on 6/7. 2021.
The Yankees can't hit. I mean, that's all there is to it. And that goes back to all of that launch angle crap and all of the science guys and the analytics guys, and we have to do this. Let's not string hits together. Let's just hit a home run. I mean, the Yankees, let's put it this way. It's getting to the point now where if a team scores 4 runs before the Yankees do, I'm pretty sure the game is over. And it's not fun watching this team because they can't. I mean, last year the Yankees were an offensive juggernaut, and even when they had injuries, the guys who came in were still banging the ball. Now, for whatever reason, they just, DJ LeMay, who's hitting 250. Brett Gardner is playing center field because Aaron Hicks is out for the season. He's batting 190. Clint Frazier is still under 200. They traded for this guy, Rougned Odor, who was batting 180. There were so many bad batting averages on this team. Right now, the only hitters that I can rely on for the Yankees are Aaron Judge, who's hitting 295, and he was up at 300 like a week or so ago. Gleyber Torres seems to have found his swing because he when he came off the COVID list, he went, I forget what it was, something like 11 for 18 in his first 4 or 5 games back. And Gio Urshela at least is hitting 270 and is he's been hitting cleanup, but even Gary Sanchez is at 210, striking out all over the place. Luke Voigt has barely played this season. I think he's played about 3 games. It's just, and they brought up Miguel Andujar, who actually is starting to find his swing, but they have him out in left field, where he clearly has no clue what he's doing out there. He's not a good, people say he wasn't a good defensive third baseman. He's a terrible outfielder. So, and this is just to try to get the offense going. DJ LeMahieu, I don't know what happened to DJ LeMahieu. I was thrilled when they signed him to this contract, 6 years, $90 million. because I figured, all right, we're just going to get, at least another 4 or 5 years at 300 batting averages and 400 OBP, and what a great guy to have at the top of the lineup. DJ LeMahieu was hitting a soft 250, and it's just all of a sudden, I don't know if he looks old or ineffective or whatever, but it's probably both at this point. With Corey Kluber hurt, the Yankees rotation has become exposed a little bit, because now we're having to start Michael King, who I don't know, maybe he'll be a good pitcher at some point. He's not a very good pitcher now. They started Davy Garcia in one game last week. Last night I thought Domingo Germán pitched well, 5 2/3 innings, 1 run. But Lucas Licky, who's actually been a pretty reliable guy, came on in relief and wound up giving up a 2-run home run, and that tied the game. And then the Yankees actually had to wind up fighting back in the 9th inning to score the tying run. But it really is becoming frustrating to watch this team, because I was just going to say, they strike out a ton. They've scored. I saw something on Twitter last night. I couldn't find it again because I didn't write it down. But they've scored something like 80 fewer runs this season than in the same number of games last season. We're like, what, 50 games in?
Right. Yeah.
80 runs is a lot of runs.
No, I agree. The numbers are down everywhere, if I'm not mistaken.
The numbers are dreadful. That's the problem. It's not even that they're down. Here's some numbers for you, brother, for the Yankees. First of all, 2-8 in their last 10. That's the most important numbers, which is terrible. But the Yankees are dropped into 4th place in the American League East. They're now 6.5 games behind Tampa Bay. But here are some really embarrassing numbers. The Yankees have scored the 2nd fewest runs in the American League, and it's only 1 more than the really pathetic Detroit Tigers. All right. The Yankees are 0-17 when allowing 5 or more runs this season. That's just a disaster. Think about how many times over the last 3, 4, 5 years were people saying, well, the Yankees will just hit more. They'll win games 11-10. Now it's like, if they don't win the game 4-3, they're not winning. And that this team has become boring. That to me is the greatest the greatest criticism of this team is that they're just become boring. I don't know when or how that happened, but a team that can't string hits together is boring. And if you're waiting for like a walk and a home run, it's, okay, that's not to me, that's not an offense. And Aaron Judge has, I want to say 14 home runs, but he's got 26 RBIs. That means nobody's getting on base.
Right.
Because that means most of his home runs are solo home runs. And it also means that when he's not hitting a home run where he's getting a single or whatever, because like I said, he's batting close to 300. So he's one of the few guys who are getting hits, but that means there's nobody on base for him. So he's not driving in runs. It really is.
Well,
it's
my
becoming frustrating.
My question for you, brother, is when does he start the finger pointing at Brian Cashman? And how
I don't know, because who's going to do it? Hal Steinbrenner's not going to do it. I hate to say that Cashman.
Well, Hal would be the one to do it.
Well, he would be, but that's not his personality. He's not his father. If George was still around, forget it. I mean, Cashman probably would have been fired already. He would have said, I don't care if the guy's been with the team 20 years. We stink and we need to fix it. But right now, if you look at who else, who's available, there's not a lot out there that is going to fix this team. First of all, the Yankees should be more left-handed than they are. And they're not. And they brought in Rougned Odor to try to help with that. But like I said, the guy's hitting 180. So he's not doing much. And not to mention the fact, Rougned Odor, and I'm not going to blame this on the umpires because, the Yankees still have to win games. But the umpire in the 9th inning last night with a runner on base called Rougned Odor out on strikes on a pitch that was about 5 inches outside. I couldn't believe that he called this pitch a strike. It was absurdly outside. It wasn't close to a corner. It wasn't painting the black. It was at least 2 full baseballs wide of the plate.
Wow.
And the ump punches Odor out, and I was just gobsmacked, as the English would say. I could not believe it. I wanted to jump through the television and strangle the umpire. And if you haven't seen it, it's all over Twitter. So just find it. Just type in Yankees on Twitter, and you'll find 40 replays. But it was disgusting. It was the worst call I've seen from an umpire in I don't even know how many years. It was Angel Hernandez like. That's how bad it was.
Okay, well, 2-8's the numbers. You're right. 2-8's the numbers that you worry about that they're not winning. The rest of them is all, over analysis in many ways. Brother, a couple of things left. First of all, I didn't mention this, brother, but last week was our 7th anniversary of doing this show. We did not have our usual, call-ins, and maybe we can have some of those people call in the next couple of weeks. But if not, happy anniversary to you. We've been doing this show. I didn't know we'd be doing it 7 years, but I'm glad we're doing it, and I hope everyone is enjoying the show. The USFL popped its head up last week, brother, because there is something called the Spring Football League right now, and they don't have cities; they just have team names, which makes me think it's roller derby. But it's on Fox Sports 1. But supposedly the USFL is coming back with the names of some of the teams, and of course it's the term USFL. Fox Sports is supposed to be a partner with this, but along the way, the actual person who owns the trademarks for the USFL has said, "Hey, none of you guys have contacted me. I own the names and everything else." So
let's not worry about this right now, brother.
Well, I'm just saying, it's just there's been spring football attempts the last few years. XFL's coming back next year with The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson is part owner of the league. And, of course, Donald Trump will not be back with the USFL because he did ruin it the first time. But it should be interesting to see if they actually do it, if they have to pay off the guy who still holds the check for $3, by the way. Not
the last thing that Donald Trump has ruined.
Yes, that's true. There's many things. So, but anyway, it's just kind of interesting that trying to bring it back. The fact that they didn't talk to the guy is kind of funny. Anyway, brother, we have 2 minutes left. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I did want to mention the whole Naomi Osaka thing, and she withdrew from the French Open.
Right.
Talked about depression as the reason. She said that she had suffered long bouts of depression since winning her first Grand Slam title in 2018. Osaka, who's 23 years old, said last week she would not do news conferences at Roland Garros during the French Open to protect her mental health. Now, I agree with her decision, and I certainly support her efforts to get herself back to where she needs to be and healthier. But the one thing that I would stress is that she needs to know media is part of her job. And
right.
You can't just say, well, I don't feel like doing it. Whatever help that she's going to get and whatever, I certainly would love to have her back as quickly as possible. But part of her healing / recovery, whatever word you want to call it, has to involve her learning how to deal with press conferences that she seems to find so stressful. So we all wish good things for Naomi Osaka. Yeah,
see a therapist. Start there. You're right. It is part of the job. Anyway. That just about does it from the press box right here on 90.3 WHPC, streaming at nccradio.org. Coming up next, Big Ed Newlands with Good Gold. The show will be a podcast later on. Thank you to my brother Tim. Take care and bye-bye.